been a musician most of my life. You know, I started playing an instrument when I was in the 4th grade in school for band. Wanted to play saxophone, but they had this way too many saxophone players. So they were like, hey, why don't you play clarinet? So I did. And I picked up the saxophone later at with a scholarship to the University of Louisville. Was in every kind of ensemble there, but I've really spent my life listening and learning to hear that scene between a real performance and a manufactured one. A few weeks ago, something that was manufactured caught me off guard. There was this video. It had a contestant on America's Got Talent, you know. It was an older guy, right? Long gray hair, you know, looked like an old rocker. Said he'd been homeless and he found music through prayer, and that he was hoping that this song might somehow reach a child that was lost. And he started playing and singing. And like for this second, I was right there with him. It was impactful. He doesn't exist. Not at all. The production company confirmed it. There's no such man, no such audition. The footage, the story, the prayer, the lost child stuff, all of it fabricated. And the song still is out there streaming under a name that you would never be able to shake their hand. Crazy, right? And this track, the one that you're listening to under my voice since I've started talking, that you noticed may be different than our usual intro music, it isn't real either. It's not a band. It's not a session recording. I made it last night. I sat down to kick the tires on AI music and AI music tools. No plans, just seeing what I could do with it. And about an hour in, after being cold, this is what came back. A voice that sounds similar to other artists, sort of. It's got the raspy stuff in it, vibrato. It's got some seemingly emotion behind it. Some harmonies are there, and it took me like minutes from a prompt. No fancy recording studio, no vocal booth, no post-production, no mastering. And I sat there just stunned. And I said, right at that moment, that's the thing that started the whole episode, because I felt something listening to it, and you probably do too. So more than 30 years into being a musician in all kinds of ways, in a machine that learned from us, moved me in a couple of minutes. I'm not scared of that. I'm not sold on it either, though. But I couldn't shake the question it left me with. And it's not, how did the machine get this good? The real question is, who left the door open? And I don't think AI beat us. I think we handed it the keys. And I can show you exactly where. Before I make a single claim, here's why I get to make it. I've lived at both ends of this thing. The machine end. So I've spent serious time composing and producing with synthesizers and samplers. I know the preset palette, effects ranges, plugins by heart. I know what it is to take a string section one overdub line at a time, painful. I can tell you that. But that's only because, you had a particular plugin, a particular synth or something that couldn't play two notes at once, or you needed to layer that on top of each other. I didn't read how the sausage got made here. I made it, right? So at the other end of the spectrum, though, when I was at university, the whole scholarship thing, playing clarinet and saxophone, I was in every ensemble they had, prepping for orchestral auditions, as a matter of fact, before life happened and I stepped off the musical track. But so I know a side of that machine too. The exposed wind lines, the breath, the way the note like just is birthed, right? Vibrato that like is on purpose and intentional. In jazz stuff, that like this humanistic swing, because you can swing machine, by the way, but that you can very much tell that but that little get up right in the swing, and none of that sits on the grid just exactly right. And so, and the instrument this whole episode runs on is, I'm a drummer. I've been drumming since for 30 years now, and I've done gigs at bars and played festivals and churches and done recording sessions and my own home studio with Superior drummer and sound replacement stuff. And the one thing at the center of actually all of this is the pocket. And one thing that you learn as a drummer if you're doing something for a session or whatever is how to play with a click track. And you learn how to play around the click intentionally for a reason. Laying back so a session feels a little heavier, leaning up so it kind of just drives forward a little bit. The drums taught me how to do that. The drums taught me the grid, the winds and stuff exposed me to phrasing and the lines and the breath and the way notes are shaped and formed throughout the process intentionally, how you're putting emotion behind every single note and how that pitch is just slightly, it's just that in other words, it's these micro variables that we humans put into the pocket or to a note or to a line that what I've learned through all of this stuff. Okay. And those couple of things are what this whole episode is built on. And I've really spent my life on both of these. The thing I trained for years to do is the exact thing AI can't. One honest line here. I'm not an AI engineer. When this gets into how the models are trained, I'm citing people who do that for a living by name. The day I start weighing the machine learning is the day you stop trusting me on the music, so I won't. Here's what should have been the last thing to fall. And it fell first. If you'd asked me a few years ago where the machine would break down, I'd have said the voice. The voice is the most human instrument there is. You got, and not just the nature of the vocals, but like all the stuff around it, like the breath involved, the release, the crack, the catch in the throat when the lyrics cost something. That's the soul end of this whole thing. That's supposed to be what I would say is safe, but it isn't. The current generation of these tools clears the bar that matters most to a casual listener. Lead vocals, vibrato, breath, phrasing, the little emotional fractures. On a slow song, a ballad, a singer-songwriter pocket, one voice in a simple bed, most people wouldn't be able to tell. That's not the genre you'd expect to fall first. I mean, it's the one built entirely on feeling. So where does that still trip then? So if you have that established in this emotive kind of genre thing, where does the AI right now trip? And it's speed and density. Okay. And we'll get to a couple other things, but stack the syllables, go fast and technical, and the scansion garbles, and the physics of the voice itself, like what that breath, right? That before the singer initiates that first note, the release, it's just sometimes not there before a phrase. And when you're talking about vocal range, so that sometimes it changes the tonality in a different way than you'd expect from the lower range to the higher range. And sometimes it even creates stuff where the range is wider than what a real vocal would do. In other words, in the song you heard in the intro, there's part of it at the end of it that has this really high stuff, and you're like, that's not what a real raspy male voice would do. The stylized stuff, though, the vibrato, the cracks, the rasp, the phrasing, it's got down because that's patternable. It's the involuntary physical stuff, the breath nobody edits out in the post, that and stuff like that gives it away. So one honest thing, because it cuts against my own argument. What I generated with no expertise. It was just a short session to figure, just to fool around, right? A few words I typed into a box, and poof, that's what I got. Which means the whole ceiling is much higher than what I'm describing, not lower. A producer who actually knows the tool and knows music will get much more out of it than I did on the first try. This fools most listeners right now, what I did. The tells are real, but they're for the trained ear, not the casual one. Sit with the shape of that for a minute. The machine is weakest where the music is hardest and fastest, and strongest where the music is slowest and emotional. That's backwards from what any of us would have guessed. And it's the first clue to what's actually going on. The machine didn't get soulful. Something about the slow, soulful song made it easy to counterfeit, which raises the question the whole episode turns on. What makes one kind of music easy for a machine and another kind impossible? I want to give you a tool, one ruler. Hold on to it, and the entire AI music argument lines up. Here's the only question that matters. How much intentional, continuous human variance did this kind of music keep? How much intentional, continuous human variance did the kind of music keep? Not, is it good or is it complete? Just how much living on purpose human wobble is still in it. Breath that moves, time that breathes, a note shaped by a decision instead of a setting. So at the machine end, where almost nothing human is left, you get gridded, locked, edited to perfection music. Baroque keyboard sits near there. It's contrapuntal, and even by design. Modern instrumental metal sits here. Modern worship sits here. And no surprise now, this is exactly where AI passes cleanest. At the human end, where the variance is the music, you get the exposed solo voice, a single clarinet over an orchestra, the English horn carrying a melody alone, late romantic orchestral writing, where the emotion lives in how the line bends. This is where AI still fails. Not because it isn't trying, because the thing it would have to fake is the whole point. And those AI vocal tracks from the cold open, the one that got me, they're the middle of the ruler. The machine counterfeited the feel there because It learned the feel from us. The technology changed 3 times to get here. Okay. Monosynth, sample library, generative AI. That's the 3 big, if you want to talk about evolutions of music stuff right now. The wall held in the same place every time. Only the texture floor rose. Keep the ruler in your hand. Let's walk it. Okay, start at the machine end because it's the clearest case. And it's the one I know from the inside. Okay, AI passes cleanly in instrumental metal. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. It's not because the machine learned to sound human. It's not. It's not because the machine learned to sound human. It's because the genre deleted the human decades ago. On purpose, with its own 2 hands. Modern metal production is built on 3 moves. Quantize. You drag every note onto the grid so the timing is mathematically perfect. Trigger and sample replace. Swap the actual drum hits for identical pre-recorded samples. You edit the click until there's no air left. That's not an accusation. That's the standard workflow. It's how the records get made. I want you to see how small the move is. It's 1 button. The human plays something with feel in it, and 1 click erases the feel and replaces it with perfection. That's the whole trick. We didn't lose the human to some external force. We clicked it away ourselves, take after take, because perfect felt safer than alive. So when AI shows up to generate instrumental metal, it never has to clear a feel bar because the producer's already bulldozed it. That's nothing left for the machine to fake. So here's me doing exactly this, where I'm taking an electronic drum kit, I'm running it through my computer with Superior Drummer and replacing the sounds of what a real acoustic set would actually sound like. So if you kind of notice what that would do, though, it means that the quote-unquote drum sound on 100 different songs can be the same sample pack, triggered by 100 different players, which explains the thing people keep puzzling over. Why does all the instrumental metal on YouTube sound the same? Well, it's not one AI with a small palette. It's that the human palette already collapsed. The whole genre runs on the same handful of amp sims and the same drum libraries, same presets, same packs. Everybody wants to sound like that. AI trained on that monoculture spits the monoculture right back out. The sameness you're hearing isn't the machine's sameness. It's ours, reproduced at scale. That's the cleanest picture of the whole thesis in one frame. We standardized ourselves, and the machine just hit copy. And I didn't just theorize this. I tested it. And one afternoon, I built a whole AI metal channel on YouTube from using Suno. 11 tracks. A few words changed in the prompts between them. All of it was solid. And listen to where it was solid. The guitar tones and the drums. Especially the drums. Quantized, compressed, sample replaced. Exactly the sound this genre already made standard. Indistinguishable from real modern produced drums. Not because AI cracked the code of a human drummer, because real modern drums were already machined into the shape decades ago. The machine just inherited it. The drums are the whole thesis in one instrument. One honest line so I don't oversell it. The tell that's gone here is specifically rhythmic feel. AI can still trip on a guitar tone artifact, or on a fast vocal scansion, on a snare tone, on a tom fill, even inside metal. So I'm not telling you it's undetectable. I'm telling you the one human signature the genre threw away, the pocket, is the one AI was never going to have to earn. One flag before we move on, because it pays off in a minute. In the corner of music, machine precise didn't start as an insult. In fast, complex metal, it was the highest compliment. Calling a player a machine meant his hands could do something almost inhumanly exact, and that was the dream. Hold on to that word. Next section, it turns into the whole problem, and then into the way out. This is the heart of it. If you take one idea out of this episode, take this one. The click track is a reference, not a cage. A skilled player doesn't lock to it. A skilled player plays around it on purpose and can do it the same way twice. Lay back a hair in the ballad so it feels heavy. Lean on the backbeat in the chorus so it drives. Sit just behind the beat so the groove kind of relaxes. That intentional variance, that's not sloppiness, the click is there to fix. That's the music. That's a human being making decisions in real time and transmitting them through milliseconds. Now, watch what AI does instead. It does one of two things. It locks dead to the grid, sterile, robotic, obviously fake to any ear. Or it just runs a humanized pass, which sprinkles random deviation onto the grid to fake looseness. And here's the thing. Random deviation is not intentional deviation. They are opposites wearing the same coat. One is a player saying something. The other is noise dressed up as feel. A trained ear catches it instantly, even when it can't tell you the number of milliseconds. The pocket is information. A player transmits intent. AI transmits static with good production values. And it's the same failure one level up at composition. Producers who've actually tried to work with these tools say the same thing. It won't reliably honor a real instruction. Bars, key, form, tempo. It's a ready meal. It looks like dinner on the plate. But you can't run it like a session player. Can't say again, but pull back in that second verse. And it will get it. It doesn't. So that ballad that fooled me wasn't a controlled act of composition. It was a slot machine pool that came up cherries. Think about the language we use. The highest praise you can hand a metal drummer is to call him a machine. Paul from Cannibal Corpse literally carries that nickname, the Machine, for his speed and accuracy. Gene Hoglan got the atomic clock. Timing so exact it sounded mechanical. We mean it as a compliment. But here, what we're actually saying, the best thing we can say about a human player is that he sounds like the thing trying to replace him. Sit on that. Then here we go. We're going to break it. Now let me show you the exception that proves it. And it's not a softener. It's the indictment. Chris Turner, metal drummer, Ocean's 8, Alaska. He plays at near machine precision and speed. And he records with 0 triggers, 0 replacement, 0 snap to grid. Raw, intricate patterns across the whole kit by hand, alive. His solo record, Steezy. I backed it right at release. I own it in lossless. I'm telling you from the player's chair, it is machine level precision with 0 machine assistance. And it does not sound like a machine because the micro variance in it is intentional. It's a human being, but it's a human being precise on purpose. Now, somebody sharp is about to flip that on me. Reggie, if a human can play that perfectly by hand, then the AI version is basically the same thing. No, that's the whole trap. And here's the spring. Precision is not the variable. Intent within precision is. A machine can hit the grid. It cannot be alive on the grid. AI gives you sterile lock or random jitter. Both dead. Turner gives you intentional precision, dynamics, voice, phrasing across the kit, decisions in every single bar. Sterile precise is easy. Any drum machine has done it for 40 years. Alive precise is the human signature, and no amount of accuracy gets you there. So Turner isn't the counterargument. He's the exhibit. He proves the unmachined way isn't just possible, it's better. Which means the industry's choice to machine everything wasn't forced. It was a self-inflicted downgrade. He's the thing we threw away, and it was better than what we kept. And here's the joke that makes my point for me. Turner has a track with Thomas Lang called Triggered. Two drummers who both refused to use a single trigger, and they named it Triggered. But listen to what it actually is. It's two humans trading phrases. Call and response. Each one hearing the other and answering in real time. That's the thing AI structurally cannot do. It doesn't listen. It can't volley intent back. It generates. It doesn't respond. Two people in a room reading each other is a category the machine doesn't have access to. Now, one caveat that I saw with a video on Jordan Rudess where he explained how he was developing with some researchers about some AI playing to kind of sound like him, I guess. It was if you don't know who Jordan Rudess is, a keyboard player for Dream Theater, but in this video, they were training it so to where it would interpret what he was playing and then play back something. And again, it's not that it's listening and responding in that way. It's listening, taking the training that it's been given and its instructions that's been given, and then generating something on top of that. So it's still a predictive model with music built on top of that. So I just want to point that out. It's a little different than a player versus player. Now the far end of the ruler, the exposed human voice, where AI still can't go. And the reason I'm sure it isn't a prediction, it's history. We ran this exact experiment 50 years ago on synthesizers, and the line held in the same place. In 1976, Sayo, I hope I'm saying that right, Tomita did Holt's The Planets, the whole suite, entirely on synthesizers. If you're familiar, just think about what that took. Polyphonic synths didn't exist yet. So he built the harmony, one overdubbed line at a time, over something like 14 months. The literal mono synth doing a symphony. And the Holst estate, the composer's own daughter, objected to it so strongly that a court ordered tens of thousands of copies pulled. Here's the part that matters. Even the master wasn't trying to replace the orchestra. A 1977 review drew this episode's exact line. It said, a rival's synth planets sounded mechanized, while Tomita's was a human vision of his own. The honest synth artists never claimed they were copying the orchestra. They made a different thing. Tomita's Planets is nothing like a transcription. He revoiced it, recolored it, reshaped it into something spacey and alien, departing from Holst wildly on purpose. And the estate's lawsuit is the receipt. They heard an alien object, not a counterfeit. And let me be fair with the synth world, because I love some of it. There are people who've built careful, almost carbon copy synth renderings of whole orchestra scores, note for note. And some are genuinely cool. I enjoy them, but cool is the ceiling. Not one of them comes within a mile of what happens when a real orchestra plays the same notes. I know that because I chased it. I mean, when the Moscow Philharmonic came through Louisville, I was there and made trip after trip to Chicago for no reason other than to sit in the hall and hear the Chicago Symphony play one of my favorite pieces. And on one night they played Mahler's Second, The Resurrection, full orchestra, full chorus and pipe organ behind all of it. When that finale opened up, the whole room moved. Good grief. I have never felt one thing out of a speaker that came within a mile of standing inside that sound. And 100+ players, a choir, an organ, all breathing and bending a phrase together. That's a humanity no synthesizer and no model has ever touched. And the closer you sit, the more undeniable it gets. And look at who synthesized well, like Wendy Carlos did Switched on Bach in 1968. And the Bach works on a synth because Baroque is the gridded, even, machine-shaped end of the ruler. Carlos went Baroque and it sang. Tomita went romantic in it and had to take enormous liberties. Carlos versus Tomita is just metal versus classical in 1968 close. Same ruler. But what about the AI Symphony? Beethoven's Unfinished 10th, right? Completed by AI, premiered in Bonn in 2021. That was the real headline. But read the fine print. The AI generated a score that took heavy human hands to make usable. Computer scientists trained the model. A human composer and musicologist organized the sketches. And a real orchestra, the Beethoven Orchestra Bonn, actually played it. The project's own backer admitted the machine couldn't integrate the lived emotion, the Zeitgeist. Critics said it lacked emotional depth. One flat out suspected the humans did the real work. So AI wrote a symphony really means humans plus an AI plus an orchestra. The machine does the orchestral wash, background texture, the stuff modern sample libraries already do really well. It does not do the exposed voice, and it does not hold the emotional architecture across a 40-minute arc. I can give you a recording here through your speakers compressed, unfortunately, but even through that, the thing I'm pointing at survives. This is the second movement of Dvořák's ninth, the Largo. The melody is carried by a single French horn, one double reed voice alone over the orchestra. Listen to how the line bends, the note that doesn't start clean, the breath. This is the far end of the ruler, and it's the thing I trained years to do. That's not texture. That's a person telling you something in real time that they could not have said any other way. That's the part the machine can't reach. Not yet, and I'd argue not by being a machine. And here's the receipt from the same afternoon of building AI Metal. Across all 11 tracks, the one place it gave itself away every time was exactly this: exposed acoustic brass under load. Low brass at full volume, the trumpet lead in a cinematic climax, the horn lines in loud sections. The same category as the line you just heard. The drums pass because we machined them out of being human anyway. But the horn tells because that's the one we never figured out how to flatten. Now, I have to bring this home to my own house because the machining didn't stop at metal. It went everywhere, including the church. And I need to be really careful here. So hear me before you brace. Okay. I'm not about to attack the tools. Let me say that as plainly as I can. A click track that helps a volunteer drummer hold tempo is a good thing. A backing track that fills a 3-part person team generally cannot cover is a good thing. Volunteers don't have 40 hours in a given week to rehearse. I mean, a tool that bridges the gap so they can serve the congregation well is a tool in service of a human performance. Same as their instrument in their hands. Same as the voice in their throat. That is not the problem. Full stop. And one thing that is not the problem, music is a language. It's engineered to move you. Tension and release, a suspension that aches and then resolves, a key change that lifts you off the floor. That's not manipulation. That's the craft. And it works on every human heart because I'd say God built us to respond to it. You know, he made music to do this. So worship music leaning into that power, reaching for that place music was born from, is not a sin. That's the point of the instrument. Here's where it actually bends. The distortion isn't that worship music engages your emotions. It's that we've decided there's exactly one approved way to do it. Right now, if a worship song doesn't hit the formula, the maximum Hillsong build, the same emotional architecture, the same embedded format, it goes nowhere. Won't chart, won't get sung, won't get picked up. The engineering was never the problem there. The single narrow path is. So how does that narrow path show up? 2 ways. The first is homogenization. Between 2010 and 2020, of the 38 songs that hit the top of the worship charts, 36 traced back to 4 churches: Bethel, Hillsong, Passion City, Elevation. Before 2010, the hits came from all over, tied to individual writers. After 4 rooms, and the mechanism wasn't the Holy Spirit picking favorites. These were pushed as Spotify singles, marketed, engineered to chart. And this isn't me editorializing. A team of worship researchers actually ran the numbers. 2 worship leaders and 3 academics, funded through the Calvin Institute for Christian Worship. Worship Leader Research, they call it. Christianity Today picked it up. Religion News Service picked it up. And one of these researchers, Shannon Baker, out of Baylor, put her finger right on the mechanism. By 2017, she found every single song that broke into the top of those charts had been released as a single first. Packaged, marketed, pushed, not blessed to the top of the chart, marketed to the top of the chart. So every church starts converging on the same 4 churches sound. That's the first thing, sameness. Again, our own monoculture in the sanctuary this time. The second is the slide from assist to replace. Pitch correction crept into live worship, partly because services went out over phone speakers during COVID, where a flat note was really clear. An engineer described first meeting auto-tune at a major worship church because visiting musicians insisted on it. A click track used well steadies a drummer who speeds up under volume. One worship pastor said at first, like, it felt like cheating, then realized it was just making a human performance better. All fine. That's assist. But there's a far end. When a 3-person team reproduces the Big 4 sound wholesale by pressing play, when the track stops supporting the people making music and becomes the music, assist has crossed into replace. At that point, the experience is being manufactured, not offered. And that's the same move as the Quantize button. The human is still on stage. but the human isn't what you're hearing. And the people saying this loudest are insiders. A longtime church musician now at Baylor described chasing one manufactured emotional high after another until he walked away to embrace the imperfection. This isn't an outsider throwing rocks at the church. It's people who love it, asking whether we've started manufacturing the very thing that's supposed to be the most real moment of the week. All right, so back to the title. We did this to ourselves. I mean that on two axes. And I want to put both on the table. The first is supply. These models are built from us, a compression of essentially all recorded human music. You want proof? Look at the lawsuits, okay? The major labels are suing the AI music companies for training on their catalogs without permission or payment. That litigation is the hostile witness. The industry is, in effect, testifying under oath that the machine was built out of human work it never touched. The capability is ours. They just took it. And here's the part almost too perfect. The track I opened up with, the one I made last night, I made it on Suno, the same Suno that's a named defendant in those lawsuits. And while I was generating my little demo, one of the labels suing it, Warner, had already settled $500 million. And now Suno gets to train on Warner's catalog legally after the fact. So watch the whole machine in one frame. The tool is built on music it never got paid for. Got caught and is now buying the catalog retroactively. And I use that exact tool in this exact episode to manufacture a feeling that improve the point to you. The counterfeit confirming itself in real time. We really did do this to ourselves. And it raises a question we're sitting on. When you make a song with AI, is it even yours? I read Suno's own terms. On a paid plan, they assign you their rights to what you generate. You can use it commercially. But the same document says, in plain words, they make no promise any copyright actually exists in it. And under U.S. law, that's the catch, copyright needs a human author. So raw AI output generally can't be copyrighted at all, which means the thing you made, nobody may be able to own it. Someone could reuse your track and you'd have no claim because there's no copyright to infringe. Your protection isn't copyright. It's a contract with the company. Read that against the whole episode. We built a machine out of everyone's music, and what it hands back may belong to no one. That's not a footnote. That's the end game of machining the human out. Music nobody performed that nobody can own. The second is demand, and this one's on us more directly. The crowd handed quote unquote fan for life to a man who does not exist. The formula that did it, faith, fatherhood, redemption, wasn't an accident. It was engineered as bait, aimed at exactly the registers that move people like me. And it worked. It worked even on people who already knew the video was fake. That's the part that should stop you. We didn't just get tricked. We kept feeling it after the trick was exposed. Because the counterfeit was never really a song. It was meaning, manufactured and aimed straight at the things we hold most sacred. But here's the turn. And it's actually hopeful. When the machine can make infinite counterfeit, the real thing gets more valuable, not less. Generation got cheap. Presents got expensive. A true story. A live room, a real person you can actually be in a relationship with. Directable intent. Somebody you can ask to do it again differently, and they can. And judgment. Knowing when a thing is done. I learned that on those 11 tracks, the machine will tune forever. It has no enough button. And that's the whole line between a tool and a replacement. All the stuff the machine can't fake just appreciated. That's where the leverage moved. And that's where we should be standing. There's a deeper standard underneath all of this. Think about the music that lasted. Beethoven, the Beatles, Zeppelin. What made it great was never that it grabbed you on the first listen. Plenty of disposable stuff grabs you once. What separates it is that it rewards return. You go back for years, decades, and keep finding more in it. That's the bar the canon actually sets. Not popularity, depth. What AI makes right now is genuinely good. It'll fool most people on first pass. But it's first listen good, not 40th listen good. It doesn't reward return. There's no there to keep finding. Okay. Might it get there someday? Probably, but not today. And here's the tie to everything. The industry optimized for the first listen, the disposable, the machined, the streamable single. AI is the perfect apotheosis of that optimization. Endurance is the one thing neither the machine industry nor the machine was ever built to reach. It's the human standard. It's still ours. So what do we do with this? And let me be clear about what I'm not saying. I'm not saying smash the synths. I'm not saying delete the click track or throw out the stems. I'm a producer. I use these tools. They're good in skilled hands and volunteer hands alike. This is not technophobia. It's not nostalgia for some pure past. It's one word: discernment. There's a posture for this, and it's an old one. The Bereans. When Paul taught them, they didn't just accept it because it sounded good and came from an authority. Nope. They examined it. They tested what was in front of them before they took it in. That's the whole move. Not cynicism, examination. Test the thing in front of you and what it actually is before you let it move. And then revalue what can't be faked. A real person, really present, telling a true story. That's the thing AI made scarce, which means it's the thing worth the most now. And if you caught my last solo episode on AI, you know where I stand as a technologist. The two camps are yelling at each other right now. You got the doomers and who think this whole thing ends us. And then you have the true believers who think it solves everything. I'm neither. I'm in the third category. AI is a tool, a powerful one. And like every tool we've ever made, it becomes whatever we make of it. A hammer builds a house or caves in a skull. The hammer doesn't choose. This won't either. We will. And yes, I did it myself. That afternoon, I built an AI metal channel and put it up on purpose. Not because I think it's the future of music. To show you exactly where the seam is. I ran the tool all the way to the end so I could tell you from the inside what it does and what it can't. That's the third category in practice. Not refusing it, not worshiping it, using it with your eyes open, which is exactly why discernment isn't optional. The machine does what we train it and reward it to do. So the real question was never, what is AI going to do to music? It's what are we going to decide is worth keeping? Remember the start of this? We made you feel something with the track I generated in a few minutes and I told you so? That's the world now. Things that will move you that were assembled to move you by no one but just engagement. The skill you need isn't to stop feeling, it's to know what you're feeling and why, and whether there's a person on the other end. The church of all places should be the first community on earth that can tell the difference. A tool that helps people make music from one that replaces them. A manufactured experience from a real one. The counterfeit is going to get better, so So we'd better get better at knowing the real thing when we're standing in it. We did this to ourselves, which means, and this is the good news, we can also be the ones who choose the real thing back. This is R&B Talks. I'm Reggie. See you later.